Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UE's Meridian, watching the stars through the big window. He had been a ship captain for 10 years, but he had never seen anything like this. The radio was making strange sounds, like someone crying for help from very far away. "Captain, we are getting a signal," said Amy Rodriguez from her seat. She was the person who talked to other ships and planets. Her face looked worried as she listened to her headphones. "What kind of signal?" Jake asked. He walked over to her desk and looked at the screen. Numbers and letters were moving across it very fast. "It's a distress call, sir." "But it's not from humans. It's from another species." Amy pressed some buttons. To make the sound clearer, they call themselves the Shanti. They live on a planet called Kepler 442b. Jake felt his stomach twist. The Shanti were not human, but they were asking for help. That made him think about what he should do. Earth Command had told him to stay away from alien problems, but someone was in trouble. What are they saying? He asked. Amy listened for a moment. "They say their world is dying. Something is eating their planet, making it disappear. They have asked many other alien species for help, but no one will come." Dr. Lisa Park walked onto the bridge. She was a smart woman who studied alien life. Her white coat was clean, and her hair was pulled back tight. She looked at the screen showing the signal. "Captain, may I listen?" she asked. Jake nodded, and Amy gave her the headphones. Lisa's face became very serious as she listened. "This is bad, Captain. Very bad. They are talking about something they call the void rot. It sounds like it eats matter, turning everything into nothing." Bobby Chun, the ship's engineer, looked up from his workstation. "That sounds impossible. How can something turn matter into nothing?" "I don't know," Lisa said, "but they sound very scared. They say it has already eaten most of their world. Only small parts are left." Jake felt a cold feeling in his chest. He had heard stories about the void rot before. Other captains had talked about it in quiet voices when they thought no one was listening. They said it was the worst thing in the galaxy, something that made even the strongest alien races run away. "Amy, can you show me where their planet is?" Jake asked. Amy pressed some buttons, and a map appeared on the big screen. A red dot showed where the Shanti planet was. It was not very far from where they were now. "Sir, we have orders to stay away from alien conflicts," said Lieutenant Rick Stone. He was the ship's fighter and weapons expert. Earth Command was very clear about that. Jake knew Rick was right. Earth Command had told all human ships to be careful around aliens. Humans were still new to space, and the leaders on Earth did not want trouble with other species. "But they are asking for help," Jake said. "And if this void rot is real, it might spread to other worlds." Lisa nodded. "Captain, if what they are saying is true, this is not just about them. The void rot could be a danger to everyone, including humans." Jake looked at his crew. Amy was still listening to the Shanti signals. Bobby was checking his computers to see if the ship could make the trip. Rick was looking at his weapons, even though Jake knew guns would not help against something that ate matter. "Amy, are there any other ships responding to their call?" Jake asked. Amy shook her head. "No, sir. The signal has been going out for 3 days. No one has answered." "What about the big alien powers? The Altarians? The Draxan Empire?" "Nothing, Captain. It's like everyone is pretending not to hear them." Jake felt angry. He had met some Altarians before. They were very smart and had amazing technology. If they were not helping, it meant they were scared of something. "Lisa, what do you think we should do?" he asked. Lisa looked at the screen, showing the Shanti planet. "As a scientist, I think we should learn more. This void rot could be important to understand. As a person, I think we should help them." Bobby looked up from his computers. "Captain, I have been checking our supplies. We have enough fuel and..." Food to get there and back. The ship is in good shape. Rick crossed his arms. Sir, this could be dangerous. We don't know what we are flying into. What if this void rot attacks our ship too? Jake thought about this. Rick was right to be worried. But he also thought about the Gentii, alone on their dying world, asking for help that never came. How long would it take to get there? Jake asked. Bobby. About 2 days at full speed. Bobby answered. Jake walked to the big window and looked at the stars. Somewhere out there, people were dying, and no one cared enough to help them. The big alien powers with their fancy ships and weapons were too scared to try, but humans were different. Jake had learned that in his 10 years as a captain, humans did not always make the smart choice. Sometimes they made the right choice instead. Amy, send a message to the Gentii. Tell them we are coming. Sir? Rick looked surprised. We are going. To help them, Jake said. I don't care what Earth Command says. I don't care what the other aliens think. People are dying, and we are going to try to save them. Amy smiled as she started typing the message. Yes, sir. Lisa looked proud. Thank you, Captain. Even Rick nodded. Well, if we are going to do this, we better do it right. Jake sat in his captain's chair and looked at the screen showing their new course. The Gentii planet was still far away, but they were going to get there, while every other civilization in the galaxy turned away. Humanity was going to step in. He just hoped they would not be too late. 2 days later, Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the Meridian and stared at something he had never seen before. Where the Gentii planet should have been whole and round, there were only pieces. Big chunks of land floated in space like broken toys. Between them was nothing but empty black space. My God, whispered Dr. Lisa Park. She was looking at her computer screen, but her face was white with shock. Captain, this is worse than I thought. The void rot has eaten half their world. Amy. Rodriguez was trying to contact the Gentii. I'm getting signals from underwater cities. They built their homes under the oceans, so they lasted longer than the land. Jake felt sick looking at the broken planet. How many people lived here before this started? According to their messages, about 50 million Gentii, Lisa said. Now there might be 5 million left. Bobby Chun was checking his instruments. Captain, I'm reading some very strange energy patterns. It's like the space where the planet used to be is ... wrong somehow. Wrong how? Jake asked. It's hard to explain. My computers keep saying there should be something there, but there isn't. It's like reality has holes in it. Lieutenant Rick Stone was watching his weapon systems. Sir, I don't think our guns will work against this thing. How do you fight something that makes matter disappear? Before Jake could answer, a new voice came through the radio. It was different from the Gentii voices they had heard before. This one sounded older and very tired. Human ship, this is Elder Kathnara of the Gentii. We received your message. We are grateful that someone has come, but you should not be here. The void rot will spread to your ship if you get too close. Jake picked up the radio. Elder Kathnara, this is Captain Jake Morrison. We came to help. Can you tell us more about what happened here? There was a long pause. Captain Morrison, your people are brave but foolish. The greatest powers in the galaxy have refused to help us. The Altarians with their advanced technology, the Draxan Empire with their mighty fleets, even the wise Seekers have declared our world lost. Why do you think you can do what they cannot? Lisa took the radio from Jake. Elder, I am Dr. Lisa Park. I study life forms and diseases. Can you tell me how the void rot started? Dr. Park, the void rot appeared 6 months ago. It started small, just a spot on one of our continents. But it grew quickly, eating everything it touched. Our scientists tried everything to stop it, but nothing worked. The more energy we used against it, the faster it spread. Jake felt a chill. The more energy you used, the faster it spread. Yes, Captain. We tried lasers, plasma weapons, even nuclear devices. Each time, the void rot grew stronger and spread faster. That is why the other civilizations will not help us. They fear their own weapons will make it worse. Bobby looked up from his computers. That explains why the Altarians won't come. Their technology is so advanced, they would probably feed this thing like crazy. Amy was listening to other radio signals. Captain, I'm picking up communications from the Altarian fleet. They're watching us from far away. What are they saying? Jake asked. They're betting on how long we'll last before we run away, Amy said, looking angry. Rick checked his weapons again. So we can't shoot it, we can't blast it, and we can't use high technology against it. What can we do? Lisa was studying the data they had collected. Elder Kathnara, can you tell me more about the void rod itself? Is it alive? Is it some kind of weapon? The Elder's voice became even more sad. Dr. Park, our scientists believe it is a weapon created by a dead race, called the Harvesters. They made it as their final act of revenge before they died out. It was designed to spread slowly, giving civilizations time to run away rather than fight. The Harvesters wanted to cause fear, not quick death. Jake felt anger building in his chest. So this thing was made to scare people into abandoning each other? Yes, Captain. And it has worked perfectly. Every advanced civilization has calculated the risk and decided we are not worth saving. Jake looked at his crew. They all looked angry now. The idea that people would abandon others because of fear made them all mad. Elder, we need to see the void rod ourselves, Jake said. Can you guide us to a safe distance? Captain Morrison, there is no safe distance. But if you insist on seeing it, I will guide you. Perhaps when you see the truth, you will understand why the others ran away. Jake nodded to Bobby, who started the engines. The Meridian moved carefully toward the broken planet. As they got closer, Jake could see more details. The edges where the planet had been eaten were perfectly smooth, as if someone had taken a giant spoon and scooped out pieces of the world. Look at that, Lisa whispered. The void rot doesn't just destroy matter. It removes it completely. There's no debris, no dust, nothing left behind. They passed close to one of the floating land pieces. Jake could see jaunty cities built into the rock. The buildings looked like they were made of coral and shells. Very beautiful, but also very fragile. The jaunty evolved in the oceans, Lisa explained. They're amphibious, which means they can live both in water and on land. Their cities are designed to be underwater if needed. As they flew closer to the planet's core, Jake saw it. The void rot was a sphere of absolute nothing. It was black, but not the black of space. It was the black of something that should not exist. Dear God, Rick whispered. It's like a hole in reality. Bobby's computers were going crazy. Captain, my instruments can't understand what they're seeing. The readings don't make sense. Jake stared at the horrible sphere. How big is it? About the size of a city, Lisa said. But it's still growing. Slowly, but it's definitely getting bigger. Amy was still listening to the radio. Captain, I'm getting more signals. The Altarians are telling us to leave immediately. They say we're being foolish and endangering our own species. Jake picked up the radio and changed it to the Altarian frequency. This is Captain Jake Morrison of the human ship Meridian. We are here to help the Janti. An Altarian voice answered, speaking perfect English. Captain Morrison, this is Commander Zeph Tal of the Altarian Observer Fleet. You must leave immediately. The void rot cannot be stopped. We have calculated all possibilities. Any attempt to fight it will only make it stronger. Then how do we save the Janti? Jake asked. You do not. They are already lost. The logical choice is to contain the void rot by establishing a quarantine zone. The Janti are an acceptable loss to prevent spread to other worlds. Jake felt his anger explode. Acceptable loss? These are people. They have families, dreams, hopes. How can you just abandon them? Because, Captain Morrison, sometimes the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. This is basic logic. Jake looked at his crew. They were all looking at him, waiting to see what he would do. He thought about the Altarian logic. It made sense from a cold, calculating point of view, but it was also wrong in every way that mattered. Commander, Zeph Tal, there's something you don't understand about humans. We don't abandon people just because it's logical. We find another way. There is no other way, Captain. The void rot feeds on advanced energy. The more sophisticated the technology, the faster it grows. This is why every civilization has turned away. Jake smiled grimly. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe you're all thinking too advanced. Amy, contact Earth Command. Tell them we need every ship they can send. And tell them to bring the oldest, simplest equipment they have. Rick looked confused. Sir, why old equipment? Because, Rick, if this thing feeds on advanced technology, maybe we need to fight it with something simple. Something it can't digest. Lisa's eyes lit up. Captain, you might be onto something. If the void rot is designed to feed on sophisticated energy signatures, it might not know how to handle primitive technology. Jake nodded. Elder Kethnara, how long can your people hold out? Perhaps a few more weeks, Captain. Why? Because help is coming. And while every other civilization in the galaxy has turned away, humanity is going to step in. 3 days later, Jake Morrison watched the biggest human fleet ever assembled arrive at the dying Janti world. Ship after ship appeared in space, coming through the jump gates like a river of metal and light. There were warships, cargo ships, hospital ships, and even civilian vessels that had volunteered to help. Captain, this is Admiral Helen Barnes on the Hughes Defiance, came a voice over the radio. We got your message and came as fast as we could. Jake felt relief wash over him. Admiral Barnes was known throughout the human fleet as someone who cared more about doing the right thing than following rules. Admiral Barnes, thank you for coming. The situation is worse than we reported. We can see that, Captain. Half a planet eaten by something that shouldn't exist. The other alien species are keeping their distance, I notice. Amy Rodriguez was monitoring all the radio channels. Admiral, the Altarians are telling everyone we're crazy. They say we're going to make the void rot stronger and spread it to other worlds. Let them talk, Admiral Barnes said. We've got work to do. Captain Morrison, you know this situation better than anyone. What do you recommend? Jake looked at his crew, then at the broken planet floating in space. Admiral, we need to start evacuating the Jantai immediately. Dr. Park believes the void rot feeds on advanced technology, so we should use the simplest ships and equipment we have. Understood. I brought everything from modern cruisers to old cargo haulers. Some of these ships are so old they barely have computers. Admiral Barnes paused. Captain Tony Williams, are you ready with the medical ships? A new voice came on. The radio. Ready, Admiral. This is Captain Williams on the hospital ship Mercy. We have Dr. Coran Foster and her team aboard, plus supplies for millions of refugees. Dr. Lisa Park was studying the data from all the new ships. Admiral, we're getting some interesting readings. The void rot seems to be reacting to the presence of so many ships, but not in the way we expected. What do you mean, Doctor? Admiral, Barnes asked. The growth rate has actually slowed down since you arrived. It's like the void rot is confused by all the different types of energy signatures. The old ships are giving off signals it doesn't recognize. Jake felt a spark of hope. Maybe we're right about using simple technology. Elder Kethnara's voice came through the radio. Human fleet, this is Elder Kethnara. We are grateful for your arrival, but we must warn you. The void rot is unpredictable. It may suddenly accelerate its growth. Admiral Barnes answered, Elder, we understand the risks, but we're not leaving. Captain Williams, begin evacuating the nearest Jantai cities. Use the oldest ships first. Jake watched as the human fleet spread out around the broken planet. The old cargo ships, some of them 50 years old, moved toward the floating pieces of land where Janti cities clung to life. These ships had simple engines, basic life support, and hardly any computers at all. Captain, I'm getting readings. From the first evacuation ship, Amy reported. The void rot isn't reacting to it at all. It's like the ship is invisible to it. Dr. Park was excited. This confirms our theory. The void rot was designed to feed on advanced technology. It literally doesn't know how to process simple mechanical systems. The first group of Janti refugees was brought aboard the old cargo, Ship U's Wanderer. Jake watched on his screen as the amphibious aliens, looking like a cross between dolphins and humans, were helped into the ship's cargo holds that had been converted into temporary homes. Admiral, the Janti are scared but grateful, reported Captain Williams. Dr. Foster is checking their health. They're weak from months of stress, but they're alive. Good work, Captain. Keep it up, Admiral Barnes said. All ships, follow the lead of the Wanderer. Use simple technology only. No advanced scanners, no plasma weapons, nothing that gives off complex energy signatures. Jake felt proud watching his people work. Human crew members were using old-fashioned tools, hand-carried equipment, and simple communication radios. They looked like space workers from 100 years ago, but they were getting the job done. Captain Morrison, came Elder Kethnara's voice. Our scientists are amazed by your approach. In all our studies of the void rot, we never considered that simplicity might be the answer. Sometimes the old ways work best, Jake replied. How many of your people are left? Approximately 4 million, spread across 7 underwater cities. But Captain, there is something else. Our scientists have been studying the void rot since it appeared. We may have found something important. Dr. Park leaned forward. What kind of something, Elder? We believe the void rot has a weakness. Our chemistry experts have found that it cannot process certain organic compounds. Specifically, compounds that contain trace elements found on your homeworld Earth. Jake felt his heart race. Are you saying Earth elements might be able to stop this thing? Not stop it, Captain, but perhaps slow it down or even reverse its growth. We need to study this more, but the preliminary data is promising. Dr. Foster's voice came over the radio from the medical ship. Admiral, I'm hearing this conversation. I have samples of Earth soil and water aboard the Mercy. We brought them to help the Janti adapt to human environments. Doctor, can you work with the Janti scientists to test this theory? Admiral Barnes asked. Already on it, Admiral. We're setting up a joint research lab on the Mercy. If there's something special about Earth elements, we'll find it. Jake watched as more ships arrived to help with the evacuation. The human fleet was growing larger every hour as more volunteers arrived from Earth and the colonies. Regular people who had heard about the crisis and decided to help. Admiral, I'm getting reports. From the other alien observers, Amy said. The Altarians are calling this the most illogical military operation they've ever seen. The Draxan Empire is betting we'll all be dead within a week. Let them bet, Admiral Barnes said. We've got 4 million people to save. The evacuation continued for hours. Jake watched as Janti families were brought aboard human ships. The aliens were different from humans in many ways, but he could see the same emotions in their large eyes: fear, hope, gratitude, and love for their families. Captain, the void rot is reacting to something, Bobby Chun reported. It's starting to move toward the evacuation ships. Jake felt fear grip his chest. All evacuation ships pull back immediately, but then something strange happened. As the void rot approached the simple human ships, it slowed down. Instead of consuming them, it seemed to bounce off them like water off a duck's back. The old ships are actually repelling it, Lisa said in amazement. The void rot can't figure out how to process their simple energy signatures. Admiral Barnes sounded pleased. Then we keep using the old ships. Captain Williams, how's the research going? We're making progress, Admiral. The Janti scientists are brilliant. They're teaching us about the void rot structure. And we're sharing our knowledge of Earth chemistry. Dr. Foster thinks we might have a solution within days. Jake looked at the broken planet and the growing human fleet around it. Ships from Earth were arriving constantly, bringing supplies, volunteers, and hope. Each ship was older and simpler than the last, but they were all working together to save people they had never met. Elder Keth Nara, how are your people handling the evacuation? Jake asked. Captain Morrison, they are calling you humans. The bravest fools in the galaxy, but they mean it as the highest compliment. You are risking everything to save us when no one else would try. Rick Stone was monitoring the alien observer fleets. Sir, something's happening. The Altarians are moving closer. So are the Draxon ships. What are they doing? Jake asked. I think they're starting to believe we might actually pull this off, Rick said with a smile. Admiral Barnes came back on the radio. All ships, this is Admiral Barnes. We've evacuated 500,000 Janti in the past 12 hours. The research teams think they're close to a breakthrough. And for the first time since this crisis began, the void rot is actually shrinking. Jake felt a surge of pride. While every other civilization in the galaxy had turned away, humanity had stepped in. They were using the oldest, simplest ships they had, but they were making a difference. Admiral, what are our orders? Jake asked. Keep saving people, Captain. That's what we do best. Steve Johnson stood in the cargo bay of the UES Defiance, looking at the strangest weapon ever assembled by human hands. It was not a gun or a bomb. It was a collection of simple glass containers filled with earth soil, water, and organic compounds. The Janti scientists had worked with Dr. Corin Foster for 3 days to create this mixture. Commander Johnson, are you sure about this? Admiral Helen Barnes asked. She looked worried as she watched Steve and his volunteer team prepare for their mission. I'm sure, Admiral, Steve said. The void rot has started growing again. It's moving toward the last Janti city. If we don't do something now, 4 million people will die. Dr. Foster was making final checks on the containers. Steve, remember what we learned. The Earth compounds will cause a reaction when they hit the void rot's core. But we don't know how big the reaction will be. Will it destroy the void rot? Asked Private Jenny Miller, one of Steve's volunteers. We hope so, Dr. Foster said. But the reaction might be violent, very violent. Anyone near the core when it happens ... She did not finish the sentence. Steve looked at his team. There were 12 volunteers, all people who had chosen to risk their lives to save the Janti. They knew they probably would not come back. Team, you all know what we're facing, Steve said. The void rot has created a dead zone around its core. Our simple ships can get close, but we have to go in on foot to reach the center. The environment will try to kill us every step of the way. Sergeant Paul Davis checked his simple mechanical equipment. Commander, how long do we have once we're inside? Maybe 30 minutes before the void rot realizes we're there and starts attacking us directly, Steve said. We need to get to the core, plant the Earth compounds, and activate them. before it can stop us. Admiral Barnes was listening to reports from the evacuation ships. Commander, we've saved 3.5 million Janti, but there are still 500,000 in the last city. They can't be evacuated in time. Steve nodded. Then we better make this work. Elder Kethnara's voice came through the radio. Commander Johnson, the Janti wish to thank you for your sacrifice. You are risking your lives for people you barely know. Elder, that's what humans do, Steve said simply. We don't abandon people in need. The mission began with Steve's team boarding the oldest, simplest shuttle they could find. The Hughes Mule was a cargo shuttle that was almost 60 years old. It had mechanical controls, a basic engine, and no computers at all. It was perfect for their needs. Jake Morrison was piloting the Meridian as an escort ship. Steve, we'll get you as close as possible. But once you enter the dead zone, you're on your own. Understood, Captain, Steve replied. Take care of yourself. The two ships flew toward the heart of the broken planet. As they got closer, the space around them became stranger. Reality seemed to bend and twist. Stars looked wrong, and the darkness was too dark. This is as far as we can go, Jake said. The Vedrot is starting to notice us. Steve looked out the window of the shuttle. The core of the Void Rot was a perfect sphere of nothingness, about 2 miles across. Around it, space was broken and twisted. Pieces of the planet floated in impossible patterns. Mule to all ships, we're going in, Steve said. The old shuttle flew into the dead zone. Immediately, Steve felt something wrong. The air felt thick, and the gravity kept changing. His team members looked sick, but they kept working. Commander, the Void Rot is reacting to us, reported Corporal Mike Torres. It's starting to send out energy pulses. Steve felt the shuttle shake as waves of destructive force hit it. The old mechanical systems groaned but held together. Keep flying. We're almost there. They reached the edge of the Void Rot's core. Steve could see into it now, and what he saw made his blood freeze. Inside the sphere was absolute nothing. Not darkness, not emptiness, but the complete absence of anything. It was like looking into a hole in reality itself. Team, this is it, Steve said. Remember the plan. We go in on foot, plant the Earth compounds in a circle around the core, then activate them all at once. The shuttle landed on a piece of floating rock near the core. Steve and his team got out, wearing simple spacesuits with basic air supplies. They carried the glass containers of Earth, compounds, and simple mechanical timers. Walking toward the Void Rot was the hardest thing Steve had ever done. Every step felt like walking through thick mud. The air around the core was wrong, and it tried to push them away. Commander, I can see the core, said Private Lisa Chung. It's horrible. It's like a wound in space itself. Steve could see it too. The core was a perfect sphere of nothing, but around its edges, reality was breaking down. Matter was being pulled into it and simply ceasing to exist. Spread out, Steve ordered. Plant the compounds in a circle, just like we practiced. His team moved around the core, placing the glass containers at specific points. The Earth compounds inside glowed with a soft, natural light that seemed to hurt the Void Rot. The sphere began to pulse and shake. It knows we're here, said Sergeant Davis. It's trying to stop us. The Void Rot began to fight back. Waves of destructive energy rolled out from the core. One by one, Steve's team members were hit. Private Miller was caught by a pulse of nothingness and simply vanished. Then Torres, then Chung. Commander, the timers are set, Davis reported. We have 5 minutes before activation. Steve looked around. Half his team was gone, absorbed by the Void Rot. The others were struggling to stay conscious as they twisted. Space around the core attacked their minds. Everyone out. Steve shouted, "Get back to the shuttle." But it was too late. The void rot had grown stronger, and the path back to the shuttle was blocked by walls of nothingness. They were trapped. "Commander, we can't get out," Davis said. "The void rot has surrounded us." Steve looked at the timers on the Earth compounds. 3 minutes left. He made a decision that would haunt him for the rest of his very short life. "Team, listen to me. We can't escape, but we can still complete the mission. When those timers go off, the Earth compounds will react with the void rot's core. But someone needs to stay here to make sure they all activate at the same time." "Sir, that's a suicide mission," said Private Andy Clark, one of the last survivors. Double quotes. "Yes, it is," Steve said. "But if we don't do this, the Gentii die. And then the void rot spreads to other worlds, maybe eventually to Earth." The remaining team members looked at each other. They were scared, but they were also determined. They had come here to save people, and they were going to do it. "I'll stay, Commander," Davis said. "No, Paul, this is my mission. I'll stay. The rest of you try to. Get back to the shuttle." "Sir, with respect, we're not leaving you," said Clark. "We came here together. We finished this together." Steve felt tears in his eyes. "Are you all sure?" "Yes, sir," they said together. Steve activated his radio one last time. "All ships, this is Commander Johnson. The Earth compounds are in place. Activation in 2 minutes. Tell the Gentii that humanity kept its promise." Jake Morrison's voice came back, full of emotion. "Steve, you're heroes, all of you." "Just doing our job, Captain," Steve said. "Take care of the Gentii for us." The last minute passed quickly. Steve and his team stood together, watching the timers count down. Around them, the void rot was getting more violent, sensing that something was wrong. 10 seconds, Steve said. "It's been an honor serving with you all." "Honor's been ours, Commander," Davis replied. The timers reached 0. The Earth compounds exploded in a reaction that had never been seen before. The organic elements from humanity's homeworld reacted with the artificial nothingness of the void rot, creating a burst of pure life energy. The explosion was beautiful and terrible. It spread out from the core like a wave of golden light, turning the sphere of nothingness into something bright and clean. The void rot fought back, but it could not possess the life energy. It began to dissolve, reality reasserting itself where the artificial weapon had eaten it away. Steve Johnson and his team were consumed in the reaction, but they had time to see that it worked. The void rot was dying, reality was healing, and the Gentii were saved. From the safety of the Meridian, Jake Morrison watched the golden light spread across the broken planet. Where it touched, the missing pieces of the world began to reappear. The void rot was being undone, its effects reversed. "All ships, this is Admiral Barnes. The void rot is gone." "Repeat, the void rot is gone." Commander Johnson's mission was successful. "Elder." Kethnara's voice came through the radio, full of tears. "Commander Johnson, can you hear us? Commander Johnson?" But there was no answer. Steve Johnson and his team had made the ultimate sacrifice to save a world they had never seen and people they had barely known. While every other civilization in the galaxy had turned away, humanity had stepped in. And when the cost was highest, humans had paid it willingly. 6 months after the void rot crisis, Admiral Jake Morrison stood in the Great Hall of New Geneva, the capital city of humanity's newest colony world. But this was not just any human colony. This was New Kepler, the new home of the Gentii people. Built together by humans and Gentii working side by side. Jake looked out the window at the city below. Gentii coral buildings grew next to human metal structures. Canals of clean water ran between the streets so the amphibious Gentii could travel easily. Human children played with young Gentii, in parks designed for both species. Admiral Morrison, the Galactic Council is ready for you, said Captain Amy Rodriguez. She had been promoted after the crisis, and now served as Jake's aide. Jake straightened his uniform and walked into the council chamber. Representatives from dozens of alien species sat around a huge circular table. At the center sat Elder Kethnara of Vijanti, now serving as the first non-human member of what was being called the Galactic Humanitarian Alliance. Admiral Morrison, said Commander Zeftal of the Altarians. His voice was different now, not as cold as it had been before. We have been discussing the response protocols for the crisis on Rigel 7. The mining accident has trapped 3 million Rigelian workers underground. Jake sat down at the table. 6 months ago, the Altarians would have calculated whether saving the Rigelians was worth the cost. Now they were asking how to help. What resources do we have available? Jake asked. Captain Tony Williams, now commanding the Medical Response Division, spoke up. We have 50 hospital ships ready to deploy. Dr. Karen Foster has trained mixed crews of humans, Altarians, and Shanti. The Draxan Empire has offered their heavy lifting equipment. Jake smiled. The Draxan Empire offering help instead of demanding payment was something that would have been impossible before the Void Rot crisis. Elder Kethnara, what do the Shanti scientists recommend? Jake asked. The elderly Shanti's large eyes glowed with intelligence. Admiral, our underwater rescue experience could be very helpful. Mining tunnels are similar to underwater caves. We have techniques that could save many lives. Excellent. Commander Zeftal, can Altarian technology help us reach the trapped miners faster? The Altarian nodded. Our deep scan equipment can locate survivors through solid rock. We will provide it freely. Jake felt proud as he listened to the different species planning together. The Galactic Humanitarian Alliance had been his idea, but it had grown beyond anything he had imagined. Every major civilization in the galaxy was now part of it, working together to help others in crisis. Admiral, there's more news, said Dr. Lisa Park, who now served as the Alliance's chief science officer. The research into void rot prevention has led to new discoveries. We found 3 other artificial plagues in dead systems. With our new methods, we can clean them up and make those worlds livable again. That's wonderful news, Doctor. How many worlds are we talking about? At least 12 worlds that were destroyed by similar weapons. Millions of square miles of land that could be restored. We could relocate refugee populations from overcrowded worlds. Jake nodded. Make it happen. Work with all the species. This is exactly what the Alliance was created for. A new voice spoke up from across the table. Admiral Morrison, this is General HFY War of the Draxan Empire. We have received a distress call from the Centauri colonies. A solar flare has damaged their power systems. They have 48 hours before life support fails. 6 months ago, the Draxan Empire would have ignored such a call unless there was profit involved. Now they were the first to report it. General, what do you recommend? Jake asked. Our fastest ships can reach Centauri in 36 hours with emergency power supplies. But we will need technical support to install them. Engineer Bobby Chun, now head of the Alliance Technical Division, leaned forward. I can have human engineering teams ready in 2 hours. Our simple systems are perfect for emergency repairs. Do it, Jake said. All of you work together. Save those people. As the meeting continued, Jake thought about how much had changed. The Alliance now had permanent headquarters on New Kepler, with representatives from every major species. They had rapid response fleets, joint research programs, and shared technology databases. But more than that, they had changed how the galaxy thought about helping others. Admiral, we have a communication from Earth, Amy said. President Martinez wants to speak with you. Jake activated the long-range communicator. A face of Earth's president appeared on the screen, smiling broadly. Admiral Morrison, congratulations on another successful mission. The whole Earth is proud of what you've accomplished. Thank you, Mr. President. But this isn't just humanity's success anymore. Every species in the Alliance contributed to saving those Regellian miners. That's exactly what I wanted to talk about. Admiral, the Earth government has been thinking about the future of the Alliance. We want to make you the permanent head of all humanitarian operations in the galaxy. Jake felt honored, but also overwhelmed. Sir, that's a big responsibility. It is. But you've proven that humanity can bring out the best in other species. 6 months ago, these aliens were calculating costs and abandoning people in need. Now, they're competing to see who can help fastest. Jake looked around the council chamber. The president was right. Species that had been enemies for centuries were now working together. The Altarians and Draxan Empire, who had been rivals for 1,000 years, were planning joint missions. I accept the position, Mr. President, but I want to make one thing clear. This alliance doesn't work because humans are in charge. It works because we proved that caring about others makes you stronger, not weaker. Elder Kethnara spoke up. Admiral Morrison speaks the truth. When the Void Rot threatened my people, every civilization turned away except humanity. But humans did not save us with superior technology or overwhelming force. They saved us by refusing to abandon us. Commander. Zeftal nodded. The Altarians have learned much from humanity. We spent so much time calculating optimal outcomes that we forgot the value of simply doing what is right. General Thaxmauer added, the Draxan Empire measured everything in terms of profit and power. Humans showed us that the greatest strength comes from helping others without expecting anything in return. Jake felt emotional listening to these words. 6 months ago, when we received the Janti distress call, my crew and I made a simple decision. We decided that people in need should be helped, regardless of the cost or risk. We never imagined it would change the entire galaxy. Dr. Foster's voice came through the communicator from the medical ships. Admiral, this is Dr. Foster reporting. From Rigel 7, we've successfully rescued all 3 million trapped miners. Human, Altarian, Janti, and Draxan teams worked together perfectly. No lives were lost. The council chamber erupted in cheers and celebrating sounds from all the different species. Jake felt tears in his eyes as he thought about Commander Steve Johnson and his team, who had died to save the Janti. Their sacrifice had made all of this possible. Alliance members, Jake said, standing up. We have another success to celebrate. But let's remember why we do this work. It's not for glory or recognition. It's because when people are in trouble, someone has to step in and help. That's what makes us better than our fears. Amy handed Jake a report. Admiral, we're getting 3 more distress calls. A plague outbreak in the Vega system, a natural disaster on Proxima 4, and equipment failures on the Alpha Centauri space stations. Jake looked at the representatives around the table. Well, Alliance members, it looks like we have work to do. Who wants to take point on Vega? The Altarians will handle Vega, Commander Zeftal said immediately. Draxan forces are closest to Proxima 4, General Thaxmauer added. We will respond there. And the Janti have experience with space station emergencies, Elder Kethnara said. We will go to Alpha Centauri. Jake smiled as he watched the greatest powers in the galaxy volunteer to help strangers in need. 6 months ago, each of these species would have found reasons to avoid getting involved. Now they were competing to be the first to respond. Excellent. Begin operations immediately. And remember, everyone, we're not just saving lives today. We're proving that the galaxy can be better than it was. As the Alliance members left to begin their rescue missions, Jake stood alone in the council chamber for a moment. Through the window, he could see human and jaunty children playing together in the streets of New Kepler. In space above the planet, ships from dozens of species worked together to protect their new shared home. Amy came back into the chamber. "Admiral, the Earth President wants to know if you have any regrets about disobeying orders to help the Jaunty." Jake thought about that. First day, when they had received the Jaunty distress call, he remembered the decision to ignore Earth Command's orders and fly toward a dying world, where every other civilization had refused to go. "Amy, tell the President that while every civilization turned away, humanity stepped in. And in doing so, we didn't just save the Jaunty. We saved the galaxy's soul." Outside the window, the first sunset on New Kepler painted the sky in beautiful colors. Human and Jaunty families walked together along the canals, while above them, the ships of the Galactic Humanitarian Alliance prepared for their next mission of mercy. The galaxy had learned something important from humanity. Sometimes the right sea